You've been lied to since childhood. They told you the only way to survive is to work harder than everyone else, to wake up earlier, to push until you break. And you believed it. You believed that guilt was normal, that stopping even for a moment meant you were falling behind. But here's the question nobody dares to ask. If endless hard work is the key to success, then why are the most exhausted people forgotten, while the ones who seem calm, even lazy, are the ones who rise higher? Carl Jung believed that what we call laziness can actually be the rebellion of the soul, a refusal to live like a machine, a signal that you are meant for something beyond this endless grind. And that is where the danger begins, because the ambitious, lazy man threatens the whole system. He refuses to play the game, and in doing so, he exposes the game itself as broken. So what if your guilt of not doing enough is not weakness, but proof you can already see through the trap? What if laziness isn't your enemy at all, but the hidden weapon of those who cannot be controlled? And what happens when that kind of person finally decides to act? Society tells you to fear laziness, but what if that's a lie? What society really fears is ambition without visible effort. The person who doesn't run, doesn't prove themselves, doesn't chase constant approval. This is the person who quietly holds the most power. While everyone else is busy grinding, he observes, thinks, and plans on a different level. Carl Jung spent decades studying people like this. He discovered that the ones we call lazy are often the most dangerous, not because they do nothing, but because they refuse to play the game everyone else is trapped in. Think about it. How many times have you felt guilty for taking a break, for resting, for not doing enough? That guilt isn't about laziness. It's a fear the system has taught you. The system needs you running in circles, chasing meaningless productivity so it can stay in control. But the ambitious, lazy man ignores it all. He sees the cracks in the rules you follow blindly. He doesn't need to prove himself, and that's what makes him terrifying. And here's the truth that chills the system. If he's right, everything you've been taught about success, work, and ambition might be wrong. The most respected, admired, and powerful people may not be the ones working harder. They may be the ones doing less, thinking more, and waiting for the right moment. Society can't handle that idea, and that's why it fears them. Most of us don't realize it, but what haunts you is not laziness, it's fear. Carl Jung called it the shadow. The shadow is the part of ourselves we refuse to face, the part that might be useless, weak, or failing. And in our culture, the shadow is everywhere. We feel guilty for resting, anxious for taking breaks, and ashamed if we don't keep proving ourselves. We chase productivity like it's proof we are valuable, but really, it's just a mask to hide our fear. Now imagine someone who doesn't feel this fear. The ambitious, lazy man doesn't chase approval. He doesn't need to prove anything. He rests, he thinks, he moves at his own pace, and that is terrifying for everyone else, because he reminds us of the freedom we've never allowed ourselves. He exposes the lie we live under, that being constantly busy equals worth. Ask yourself this: what if your constant guilt, your obsession with doing more, is not about laziness at all? What if it's your own shadow trapping you, keeping you from seeing the bigger game? And what if, like the ambitious, lazy man, you could rise above it and operate at a level most people never reach? Most people think laziness is weakness, but the ambitious, lazy man proves the opposite. While everyone else is rushing, overworking, and trying to appear productive, he is calm. He doesn't chase every problem. He doesn't feel guilty for resting. And that's where his power comes from. Carl Jung understood this. He noticed that the greatest ideas often come when the mind is quiet, when it's not forced, when it's allowed to wander freely. Einstein discovered relativity in a daydream. Tesla saw inventions while walking at night. Jung himself developed his deepest insights during periods that others called lazy. The ambitious, lazy man doesn't just rest. He lets his mind work in ways most people cannot access. He observes, imagines, and solves problems without pressure. While you are grinding and checking off tasks, he is seeing the opportunities you don't even know exist. And this is why society fears him. Not because he is idle, but because he moves differently, thinks differently, and operates on a level most people will never reach. Ask yourself, what if the way you've been forcing yourself to succeed is actually blocking your mind? What if slowing down, letting yourself think, and letting your unconscious guide you is the real way to create something extraordinary? The world is built to fear people who refuse to follow the rules. Schools, jobs, even social life reward obedience, constant effort, and visible proof of productivity. We are taught to chase achievements, checkboxes, and status. This is how the system stays in control. But the ambitious, lazy man doesn't play by these rules. He doesn't need approval, and he doesn't run in circles. He asks a simple question the system can't answer. Why? Why work yourself to exhaustion for someone else's game? Why prove value through busyness when the real power comes from thought, observation, and creativity? This terrifies everyone around him. If he's right, then all the stress, guilt, and sacrifice people endure could be wasted. The system depends on obedience, but he shows it can be broken. The ambitious, lazy man isn't just unproductive. He's free, and freedom in a world built on control is dangerous. Ask yourself, what if the rules you've been obeying don't actually lead to success? What if ambition doesn't need panic, overwork, or constant proof? And what would happen if you too, maybe you felt it before, the guilt of resting, the anxiety of not doing enough, the pressure to keep running while your mind drifts to ideas bigger than anything on your to-do list? These aren't signs of weakness. They might be signs you're an ambitious, lazy man. Do you often get solutions that others miss? Ideas that seem to appear out of nowhere while the rest of the world chases checklists? Does traditional advice on productivity make you feel worse instead of better? That's because your mind doesn't work like everyone else's. Your energy comes in waves. You may feel useless at 9 in the morning, but alive at midnight. You may ignore deadlines while thinking through problems no one else can see. These aren't flaws. They are hidden powers. Jung would recognize you immediately. You don't need to grind to achieve. You don't need constant validation. You operate from a part of human potential most people never access. The question now is simple. If this is you, are you ready to stop playing by the rules and finally use this power? Refuse to play the game. The first step is simple. Stop apologizing for your rhythm. Your energy comes in waves. Some hours are brilliant. Some are slow. That's not laziness. That's information. Learn to work with it, not against it. Next, rest, but not as an escape. Rest is the fuel of your mind. When you let yourself truly pause, your unconscious is solving problems, connecting ideas, and creating solutions that forced effort could never reach. Then practice what Jung called active patience. This isn't waiting for life to happen. It's preparing, observing, and letting the right moment come to you. Your ideas may take years to mature. Your ambitions may not be visible for decades, and that's okay. Mastery doesn't follow the clock. It follows understanding, timing, and patience. Finally, stop measuring yourself by someone else's rules. Success doesn't need panic. Greatness doesn't need exhaustion. Your power comes from seeing the world differently, moving differently, and thinking differently. And when you finally act, you will do more in a single move than most people achieve in a lifetime. Now imagine what happens when the ambitious, lazy man finally acts. All the observing, all the thinking, all the waiting comes together in a single move. Industries shift. Ideas that seemed impossible suddenly exist. Systems built on obedience tremble. And everyone who judged him for being lazy, they are left behind, trying to catch up to a mind that never raced, but always knew where to go. This is why society fears him. Not because he is slow, not because he rests, but because he proves that everything the world has been teaching you about success, about hard work, about control, it can be broken. He moves in silence, but his impact is thunderous. And here's the kicker. If you've been watching this and feeling it inside, that same power might already be in you. The ideas, the intuition, the timing, your own ambitious, lazy mind is waiting. It doesn't follow the crowd. It doesn't panic. It watches. It learns. It grows. And when the moment comes, it will move in ways that shock the world. So stop fearing your rhythm. Stop punishing yourself for resting. Stop believing that endless hustle is the only way. The ambitious, lazy man doesn't chase life. He lets life unfold and steps in at the perfect moment. And that, more than anything, is unstoppable.